All right, I think we'll kick things off here. So, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Max McKenna, and I lead the Cybersecure My Business program at NCA. Today, we're joined by our partners at Huntington National Bank, a key sponsor of the Cybersecure My Business program. So, for the agenda for today's webinar, I'm going to start with a quick overview of the program, and then I'll pass to our partners at Huntington, who will talk about their commitment to small businesses and security concerns that they see facing the small businesses that they work with. After that, we'll go to John Elliott, who is the curriculum designer and lead instructor of the Cybersecure My Business program, and he will do a short overview on cyber risk management for businesses and give you a taste of what the program is all about if you're enrolled. Please feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation. You can use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. We'll get to those all at the end. And the webinar is being recorded, and we'll share that with you about 24 hours after the completion of today's session. So with that, I will jump right in. So the Cybersecure My Business program is a program run by the National Cybersecurity Alliance. It is aimed for training the owner or operator of a small or medium-sized business, and it uses business language to teach how to manage cyber risk with the technical aspects of cybersecurity. The program itself provides weekly instruction with live Q&A, a community network to engage with other businesses on the topic of cyber risk management, a set of concrete actions to bolster your security, and also provides you with the things that you need to know when engaging with IT teams, vendors, or customers. At the end of the course, you will have access to offers from vendors and insurers. The course itself runs in cohorts of about 30 companies at a time over a 6-week span. We strive to provide the training at no or low cost with the help of our sponsors, such as Huntington, but when sponsorship is not available, the course is available for a fee. In terms of curriculum topics, you can see here some of the topics that are covered in the course, including securing your technology, access rights, mitigating attacks at your staff, and responding to an incident. For more information on the content, I'll put the link to the program page in the chat box so you have reference throughout the presentation to that. Lastly, this is a QR code that will bring you right to the waitlist. So if you are a small business on the line and you're interested in the program already, after 3 slides, feel free to scan that and sign up on the registration form. And if you're interested at all in any more information, please feel free to reach out directly to me after the webinar. Happy to jump on a call or answer any questions that you have. With that, I'll now pass to Amber and Maggie at Huntington.
Thanks, Max. Maggie and I are excited to be here. I'm Amber Beaning. We'll do quick introductions of who we are in our roles at Huntington, but just wanted to encourage all of you as we transition here. If you are currently on the wait list or considering joining the cohort, please connect with Max. I had the pleasure of hearing John last September in DC at our convene conference for NCA, and you're in great hands. So with that, I'll formally introduce myself. I'm Amber Beaning. I'm our Security Outreach Director for Huntington. So I help businesses, customers, members of our community and our footprint of our bank understand why security matters. And that's kind of a blend between cybersecurity, fraud, and physical security. I'm a cyber pro by trade. So today we'll be talking about kind of our why of sponsoring it, but I'm going to hand it over to Maggie to introduce herself.
Good afternoon. I'm Maggie Ference. I'm the Small Business Director at Huntington National Bank. I'm extremely passionate about the business space. Actually, growing up in banking, I started on the commercial side. And those words are generally interchangeable in our industry. We talk a lot about, if you're not a consumer, if you're not in retail, if you're not a human being as a banking customer, what are you? And for us as an organization, we've really spent a lot of time carving out a space that is dedicated not simply to being in business, but to being really supporting the small business and medium-sized businesses that really are the backbone of our economy. So 2 out of 3 jobs in our nation are part of the small business network. So excited to talk to you guys today about really what we do to help invest and grow and develop small businesses across our communities.
I'm gonna, I'm getting a little bit aggressive on my slides here, but I will say, because I want to kind of temper my comments here so you know who you're talking to. So on a personal level, so outside of my Huntington role, I'm a daughter and a grandchild of small business owners. So I grew up, my grandparents owned grange agencies, ranches, and then my parents own Christmas tree farms in Ohio and Michigan. So we have 30 employees, and it's a wonderful thing. I am their IT person. So when I say I've walked in your shoes, I do mean it. I think I started working and I was on payroll at 7. So you name it, I've done it. So kind of to give you some context of who's saying the words behind just my role, I'm Bill Cackler's daughter, and I still show up to work despite having a full-time job and childhood of my own. So with that, Maggie and I really connected on that because I think for us of why we're here and why we're sponsoring this cohort and working with Max and John has a lot of personal meaning besides just what we do for a living. So supporting our customers and communities is one of the tenets that Huntington is bedrock for us. And Maggie will touch on what that means for small business here in a little bit more detail in a moment. But when I think about what my team and I do in terms of security and why we do it, our goal is to really educate customers, no matter if you're a small business, a commercial customer, just a retail customer going to the bank who has questions about why am I getting this weird email? We want to educate you on tactics, methods. What are the bad guys using? How are they using it? Why are they targeting it? Why is my data interesting? All those topics we try to educate throughout the course of the year, monthly, weekly, to all of our different channels. We'd like to reinforce best practices. John's going to walk you through those throughout this course. What should I be doing if I have to spend $1? What do I spend that on? And then sharing our security culture. So you're probably looking at me sideways going, what the heck is that? So Huntington has a dedicated security culture. We have the belief that risk is everyone's job, top down, CEO to, your entry-level employee, that everybody needs to own risk. You need to accept that it's real. I think that's sometimes a struggle for people. It's there. How do you prioritize it? How do you think about, approaching it in every conversation? And through that, how do you shift behavior? So it's one thing to agree that you have risk, but it's a whole nother thing to change that risky behavior. And really embracing that at Huntington is what we do. And we'd like to bring that out to our customers and our communities that we serve. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Maggie and then pop back later. And Maggie's going to lead us through a little bit more of our why.
So a little bit more about our why. So I mentioned in my intro that, small business is a big deal at Huntington. And we really believe that, we don't just believe it, we know it, we see it, we live it every day. I'm also the daughter of a small business owner. And when I made that jump from the commercial side of the house to the small business space at the beginning of my career, it was because I was passionate about the opportunity that we had as an organization to really grow our relationships with small businesses throughout the communities that we support, the communities where we live and work every day. And when I drive home at night, I like to look out the window and see customers that I know that I have been able to help, small businesses that I've been able to invest in and be a partner to. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about that partnership and how we focus on really being part of the small business ecosystem, not just a bank, not just, everybody in the industry is in the business of selling, commodities. Everybody has checking accounts. Everybody makes loans. Everybody has credit cards. We want to take that to another level as an organization. And we believe that by partnering with small businesses, we find ways to focus on not just helping you grow as a small business owner, not just helping a family, but actually growing the communities, creating jobs, creating ecosystems that really make us what makes America special, what makes us as a capitalistic society special, what allows us to really bring the entrepreneur to the heart of everything that we do. And that entrepreneurial spirit takes tremendous courage. And that is something that Amber and I know firsthand. The decision to start a small business, to invest or to grow a small business is not made lightly. And we aim to make that easier, to make that simpler, and frankly, to make that safer. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today is really one of the most important things, and that is access to capital. So as you really think about your journey in this safety and cybersecurity space, it's making sure that you're partnering with a bank that you understand and trust, a bank that is giving you access to growth capital, a bank that is safeguarding the capital that you already own on your balance sheet. So all of these slides are going to be sent out to you guys over the next couple of days. I don't want you to worry about the content that's on them. I'm going to draw your attention to a couple of specific things that I wanted to talk about today. So as you really think about what is it, what is capital? What is access to capital? So when you think about the ability to either raise funds or use your own funds for things that your business needs, do you need to, are you starting a business? Are you growing a business? Do you need a new roof on your building? Do you want to buy the building that you're currently leasing? Do you need a piece of equipment? Do you need to increase just your basic balance in your checking account to help you increase payroll because you want to bring on someone else that's going to help you, expand your business? Are you hiring your first employee? Are you hiring your 100th employee? All of those are reasons that you will need capital. And you either have capital on your balance sheet or you need to increase or raise capital in order to help sustain or grow your business. There's lots of ways you can do that. You can do it through bank financing. You can get a partner in the financial industry. You can look to community organizations. There's crowdfunding and nonprofits, self-funding. I mean, everybody has that story about borrowing money from a grandparent or an aunt or taking money out of your house. I mean, taking on a HELOC or a personal credit card. There's venture capital. There's mezz financing. There's angel investors. Like I mentioned, some of the crowdfunding and the microfunding that's out there. No matter what you do, we encourage you to take the time to interview and find someone that you trust. The banking industry is vast. The financial industry and the investment space is vast. I always give the example. I mean, people take the time to test drive a car. You wouldn't buy a piece of real estate. I don't know, this market's a little hot, but you wouldn't buy a piece of real estate without meeting with your realtor and walking through and saying, that can be little Billy's bedroom and this is where the dog will sleep. And yet people every single day sign up to do business with banks without interviewing their bank. They don't take the time to understand who is now going to be a financial partner in my business. Would you take on a financial partner if you didn't know them, if you didn't interview them? Would you hire an employee if you didn't know them and didn't interview them? The answer is generally no. And yet every single day people go out onto the internet and they find options to get access to capital and they click the button that's the easiest. And we really truly aim as an organization to help you build the confidence around making a decision that makes the most sense for you. So this deck's going to go out over the next couple of days, and it has information about helping you build the confidence and the plan around becoming application ready and challenging any bank that you make application with, any partner that you make an investment with or a partnership with, to become a more integral part of your small business. So making sure that you have your business plan ready to go, making sure that you understand your financial health, ensuring that you have a key understanding of what your needs are, and frankly, where your balance sheet stands today. And it's okay to say, I don't have a balance sheet. I'm just getting started. I have my own personal world, and now I'm going to turn that into a small business. And really understanding where you're at on the spectrum of small business or medium business maturity. And then also, if you do have an access to capital need, being able to demonstrate that need separate from the traditional cash flow of your own business. And that's a really fancy way of saying humans balance their checkbook, small businesses establish cash flow management. And really making sure that you're partnering with an organization that understands what you as a business need in those terms. Understanding things like collateral. Do you have physical assets that you can pledge to help get access to capital? Understanding the basic 5 C's of credit, and frankly, how you're going to explain anything that you might have in your background. It's okay if, back in college, you got pulled over and something happened and you're going to find it on your report. It's okay if you went through a bad phase and, there was a bankruptcy in 2005, or there was, someone got sick, or we had to write something off. Just be prepared to talk about it. Understand who you are and what your business has been through, and be prepared to share the story. Understanding what the bank is going to be asking for, understanding what financial partners are going to be asking for. It's all part of this presentation, and we're going to make sure you guys get a copy of it to spend a little bit of time understanding more about what a partnership with a bank looks like if you don't already have that relationship. And if you do already have that relationship, we really expect you to challenge it and make sure that whatever partner you're currently with is working for you. I like to list some questions that your banker may ask you. Be prepared to think through how is your business currently performing, or how do you intend to perform if you're just getting ready to grow? If you're getting ready to move from the living room to a retail space, what does that look like as you grow? What's the future of the industry? What's the future of your succession plan? Are you getting ready to sell to a son or a daughter? Are you getting ready to acquire a competitor? Really be prepared to explain your story. There is nothing I love more. There's nothing that is more passionate than hearing a small business owner talk about their business. I would argue you are more passionate about talking about your small business than your own children. And I can tell you my father was that way. And then think about what you may want to ask your banker. Challenge them to say, explain, how do you make your decisions? What products and services do you have? How are you going to help me manage my cash flow more efficiently? Challenge them to be a partner to you. And think about everything that Amber's going to share over the next couple of minutes as well. That is going to lead into how you establish your partnership and how you make sure that whoever you are working with is helping safeguard your money, helping safeguard your decisions, providing you with advice and guidance. When we talk about how you're going to spend a dollar and where that investment goes, it's really important that you're maximizing that investment, but that it's also helping you stay safe. Most of the folks dialed in today don't have a board of directors. You don't have a full-time accountant on staff. You don't have a CFO. And when you think about how to spend that next dollar, we want to make sure that you're getting the resources and the services and the products and the support to make sure that what you are doing is safeguarded and what you're doing is an investment in the future of your business. We're going to share this deck today, and it gives you some information on some of the products and services that we also provide. I'm not going to cover those, but I'm really excited to share this with you because Huntington is the #1 small business lender in the country. We make more SBA guaranteed loans than any other organization. We have a business that is focused on helping small businesses grow, and we certainly also have products and services that come along with that support not just access to capital, but where are you going to go as a small business or medium business in the future? And a graduation plan that comes along with that, because we expect you to be a large business someday, and we'd really like to be part of that growth journey. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Amber, and we'll talk a little bit more about how we safeguard the relationship that you have today.
Thanks, Maggie. So I want you to think about this quote over your next 6+ weeks if you choose to join the cohort with John and Max. This is one of the favorite quotes of mine from a former FBI director, Robert Mueller, and he really established on the national level, it's not if, it's when. So leaning in as a small business, as you start your journey, a couple things that Maggie said that were really important. Building confidence and trust and building a partner. Relationships are collateral. And as you get into the curriculum with John throughout the next 6 weeks, one of the things I want to impress upon you to remember is verify who you're talking to. As those transactions, as you do your business and as you grow your business, your financial world will get more complex and complicated. And with that comes increased cyber risk. So when you're thinking about, what should I be worried about? I want to give you a little bit of insight about what we Huntington and our board of directors and our leaders think about on a daily basis of, what are the top 10 threats to us as a business? So for some of you, these might be new. For others, these might be things that you have seen in a news article or story. John will cover many of these as you talk over the next several weeks. But we think about authentication attacks. Denial of service, the other term for this is called DDoS. It's basically someone sending so much web traffic to your company, your small business website that you're crippled. So you can't get orders out, you can't talk to your customers, those sorts of things. They're doing that, with the malicious intent of making you, pay them, do an action. There's lots of different reasons for why those happen. Exploited vulnerabilities. Just like all of us, I always do this analogy of, I'm a homeowner. I think many of you might be as well. You go on vacation and you leave the bathroom window cracked for the cat. That's a vulnerability in your house, that open window. So how could somebody with malicious intent who wants to kind of, take advantage of you and your business, get into your systems, whatever those are for you as you mature throughout your journey? Fraud. I am blessed in my role that I get to partner with our enterprise fraud team and work with businesses like yourselves every day on real fraud cases. And I can tell you that the landscape, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is getting more complex and complicated. So what's your role in that? And how can you work with your financial partner? Insider threat. Often, it's not just the person you think of on the other side of the world, or, I joke in cyber, you always think of us with a hoodie. Hopefully the dress today dispelled that in John's lovely button down and Maggie's beautiful attire, have displayed that, we all wear hoodies in a corner in a basement in the dark. But it also can be the people who work for you. So maybe someone doesn't have the best of intentions as they leave, employment with you, or maybe somebody's trying to siphon out money. So what are you doing and thinking about, as you grow your business in that regard to that? Human error. We're hardwired to want to help people. We're hardwired to not always react the best during a stressful situation or under duress. So understanding how to mitigate those risks. Malware or ransomware, this is a common plague in the US and other countries. So how do you find the right IT provider, whether you're doing it yourself or finding a third party to support you to protect against risks like malware? Social engineering. Again, human beings are hardwired to want to do, to be helpful, to be efficient. So social engineering is one of the ways that, cyber criminals take advantage of our goodness as humans. And as business owners, often you want to give back to the communities in which you live and you serve. And this is a way that you can be exploited. System intrusion, again, how can someone access, those systems that are important to you as a business owner? And then web application attack. Often you're connecting to web applications like, good example would be O365 Microsoft or email servers. That's a good, how could somebody access that and take advantage of you in that way? So when we boil it down to what do we care about as a bank, we really think about kind of the two things that leave everybody vulnerable, no matter if you're a large commercial company, a small business, or an individual. It's the lack of cybersecurity best practices, and then the human element. Again, all those wonderful things that make us complex and beautiful as human beings, unfortunately make us vulnerable. So as you walk through the next 6 weeks with John, kind of keeping and being mindful of those. And for those of you who aren't able to join the cohort, I encourage you to check out the wonderful content. We have some links that I won't cover in the presentation today. Huntington is proud to partner with NCA throughout the year. So we have got some great free resources that they put out there that we send to all of our customers to make sure that they're aware that they're out there, and from our other federal partners. So with that, I want to talk about, just to give you a little bit of context. I know many of you are like, well, show me the numbers. Well, here you go. Here's the numbers. So we leverage the FBI's IC3 report. So I'm going to just preface all these numbers by saying I think they're extremely low. I think they're low for a couple of reasons. People don't report. People don't report for many reasons. One, they maybe don't know how. There might be a barrier to understanding how to do it. So I've got some information in the deck here. We won't cover how to do that if you're unfamiliar. But the other is maybe I'm embarrassed. I hear a lot from customers who go through one of these events that they are just they're ashamed. And I want you in the 6 weeks that you spend with John to really get over that stigma and be prepared to talk about cyber risk, but also if you do find yourself on the other side of an event, being mindful of using your partners in local law enforcement, you talking to your financial institution, using that relationship, like Maggie pointed out, they're going to be one of your best allies in those situations. So relationships are collateral and they matter. But to give you some context, one of the biggest things that we see impact customers, and I think this goes for a lot of the FIs around the country, is business email compromise. This is a crime where somebody is pretending to be someone that they're not, whether they've infiltrated an email system or they're just spoofing you as a company and they're asking you to send money to someone who you think you have a relationship with. You think you know who that person is, but it's not. And then you send out an ACH or wire or a check to someone who is not who they say they are, and then you're out of that money. And that's, again, where that ecosystem of having great partnerships and great relationships with your financial institution, and really understanding your risk come into play, because time matters in those situations. If you don't, escalate to your financial partner, the national statistic is in under 90 hours, that money is out of the US. So that's something that I really want you to kind of take away from today, is that understand who that ecosystem is for you. Walk away, if you're in the cohort with the 6 weeks for John, with a solid plan of what can I do as I grow my business, and hopefully you take a wonderful advantage of some of the resources that Maggie has included in the deck today. So I want to skip through to the very end here, since we touched on a lot of these topics. And again, you'll be getting all these, so apologies for making you seasick as we go. But a couple great resources. If you're not familiar about what BEC is, and you just want to learn a little bit more, curious, we have a free webinar out on our huntington.com website that actually it goes into this topic John, that's going to steal their thunder. There's a fellow Brit on that panel, on that webinar. So sorry, you're not the only Brit today. Uh, so it provides some great resources. This is available to any of our customers and community members who just are curious about this topic. And with that, I'm going to kind of open it up to kind of preface for John and be John's hype person here for a minute. When we think about security at Huntington, we reinforce these 10 best practices with every customer, regardless if you're an individual or a commercial business entity or small business. These can be read in a personal lens or in a professional lens. So as you walk through the curriculum with John, please keep these in mind. And on a parting thought, please validate who you're talking to as you grow your business. Make sure that you are putting in great best practices around authentication, dual authorization. So please keep those concepts in mind as you walk through the curriculum with John throughout the next 6 weeks, and then also hear his kickoff here in a moment. So with that, John, I'm going to hand it over to you.
That's great. Thanks, Amber.
Progressing slowly.
Yeah, did you need to read the small print? The ones
Yep.
that say, hey, and may result in death. I always love it when I come to America that the adverts at the end say that, and may result in death. And it's like, woo.
Yeah. Maggie, nice thoughts are those of Huntington's, and we appreciate you being here. So there's your disclosure, John.
That's excellent. And thanks for the introduction and not stealing all of my thunder, but almost quite a bit of it. Because actually, Amber is absolutely right about how people want to try and take your money. And I think it's really important that if you spend time actually raising capital, that it's a really good idea not to then give it away to a criminal, because that seems like a waste of time to me. And so a lot of cybersecurity is actually about protecting the capital in your business, whether that's the capital that's in your bank account, like money, or the capital that you have because you've got brilliant ideas. In other words, your intellectual property. And most small businesses really face these 3 threats, which are scams and fraud. Of all the things that's hitting businesses at the moment, ransomware is the one that's really creating a big problem. And I put regulation down as a threat because we don't operate in an isolated environment. Many states have privacy regulation. In many other businesses, like healthcare businesses, are regulated. The FTC is getting much more concerned about cyber breaches, and so the regulators also can be a threat to your business. But where that threat comes from really are criminals, like low-end criminals and scammers, people just chancing it, trying to see if they can get some money from you. Secondly, proper organized crime where the money really is out of the country in 90 hours, and it's in a bank account, and it's being used for people smuggling, it's being used for drugs, it's part of an organized crime gang. And then, as I said, you've got the FTC and state privacy laws. And really, all of these threat actors, all the threats are targeting, and will be targeting your business. And also, then you have people in your organization that make human errors, which also can lead to a loss of capital. And the reason is, and I like to draw this picture of a nice perfect circle with a nice layer of protection around it. But everything we do in business, everything we have, has got weaknesses or vulnerabilities. And that vulnerability might be that everyone who works for you is really nice, friendly, and happy. You've got this great supportive culture, which means that people are sometimes a bit too trusting. Or it could be a piece of software you're using has a vulnerability in it, which means an attacker can actually get control of your computer and then get control of some of your assets. A really good example I think of is because I guess most people drive. I've noticed in America that driving is quite a big thing, and also this weird sign. If you see this weird sign that says bridge ices before road or something like that, we never have that in Europe. We never see that sign. But let's take a threat of ice on the road, and you're driving, and the asset that we're thinking about here is like your life and your health. And there's ice on the road, and what are the weaknesses or vulnerabilities that could cause a threat to your safety? and if we were in a class, now you'd put your hands up and we'd go around the room and write it on a whiteboard. So I'm going to pretend we've done that. And what we're going to come up with is, is this, is that you might have bald tires, or your brakes might be poorly maintained. You might be driving an old car without anti-lock braking. You might be, I don't know, changing the radio or talking to someone who's with you. You might have made a decision to go faster than the speed limit. These are all weaknesses and vulnerabilities that mean when you hit that threat of ice on the road, something bad may happen to you. But actually, what all these things are these are all risk decisions. I mean, you might not have thought they were a risk decision, but by not checking the tires, or by not maintaining the brakes, or driving an old car, or playing with the radio, or driving too quickly, you consciously or unconsciously made a risk decision. And actually, cybersecurity is really extremely similar to that. It's about having about taking a number of risk decisions. Let me just go back because I was a bit excited there. And identifying what are the weaknesses and vulnerabilities in your organization that will be exploited by the threats we talked about into your organization, working out where you want to spend your dollars, because you could spend absolutely all the money you have on cybersecurity, but really that wouldn't be a great thing to do because you'd have no money and your business wouldn't do very well. So it's like working out what's the thing that's most likely to happen? Where am I going to get the best return on investment for a cybersecurity thing? And then making sure that you're keeping track of it and also are prepared for an instance. So, for instance, if you did suffer something where money left your bank account, you can ring up your financial institution. You've got a contact, and you also got a contact at either the FBI or the Secret Service who'll be able to help you. So it's about preparing. And so if I look at a really common threat that we see that's affecting lots of organization, it's what we call the invoice scam. And the invoice scammer is a small, usually a small-time criminal, and they want to get you to give them some of your money. Now, they're not very technical most of the time. They're not going to hack your systems. They're not wearing a hoodie. What they're going to do is they're going to send you an email.
Hi, Sandy. I just wanted to let you know we've changed our bank. We got a much better deal than we had at Chase. Our new details are here. Please, can you make sure you pay our outstanding invoices to the new account? Any questions? Just call me.
And that email didn't really come from your supplier. It came from the scammer. And what the scammer wants you to do is to send any money that you owe the real supplier into the scammer's bank account. So all they've done is written you an email. Now, in busy accounts payable teams or AP teams, sometimes this works. And when I say sometimes it works, I mean it works to the extent of this is a 2.9 billion problem at the moment. And if I said to you, well, what are the weaknesses or vulnerabilities in organizations where they get an email like that and then they change the supplier's bank account and they wire or ACH the money to the criminal? And the answer is really there are four things. They don't have a system to stop scam emails. The people in AP weren't aware this was a thing that happened. They take the email at face value rather than saying, let me ring up the supplier. Let me ring up, and in AP, you probably know someone in the supplier. Let me ring up and confirm this is reasonable. And also, they have like one person to do that change process rather than two people, because often when you have two people doing something, someone will say, "Hang on, shouldn't we do something?" But for a business, these are risk decisions that allowed those weaknesses to happen. And so, as Amber said, this business email compromise costs US businesses last year, according to the FBI, $2.9 billion. And that's the number of people who reported it, which is probably massively understated because a lot of people don't report it, often, as you say, because they're embarrassed. And so, what we're going to cover on the Cyber Secure My Business course is lots of examples of how criminals and fraudsters will try and trick you and steal money from you. And really, we're not covering how to do cybersecurity, but how you need to be able to manage it as a business owner in the same way that you manage your accountant and you manage your legal and you might manage health and safety or control of environmental stuff. And so if we were sitting down together and I say to you, this is how the scam works, you're pretty quickly going to come up and say, well, hang on, It's pretty easy for me to tell the AP team this is a thing that happens. It's pretty easy for me to put in a process that means whenever we get a change of bank account request, right, we actually validate it by ringing up someone we know to make sure that's valid. And that's actually really true whenever you're doing anything with a large amount of money, whether that's an AP transaction or whether you're buying a piece of plant or equipment or you're buying some real estate. Whenever you're transferring large amounts of money, scammers will try and get in the way and get you to transfer the money to the scammer. But we'll also learn on the course, like what questions to ask your email vendor to say, do we have a system in place to stop scam emails like that? And if we don't, how much would it cost to add that to our system? And then finally, what's our process? Do we have like what we call in financial services, people call a 4I process, i.e. something critical like this, we always get two people to check it. And so we're going to look at a lot of different ways criminals will try and either get you to send them your money, or they're going to try and break into your systems and get money from you. And we'll work out the questions you need to ask and the really simple steps you need to do to stop those attacks and close or mitigate those vulnerabilities. So, Max, do you want to talk about the General's SMB and cybersecurity posture? That was Max.
Sure thing. Thank you, John.
You were supposed to say yes at that stage, Max.
Yeah, I was muted. Apologies.
Okay.
Yeah, just these last couple slides kind of cleaning up, I think everyone has seen statistics like this before. Small businesses and cybersecurity, small businesses are integral to the US economy and are also, widely a group that's attacked, by threat actors. So the issue is that beyond just your own business and livelihood being threatened by these threat actors, small businesses breaches and incidents affect everyone. So, small businesses for larger companies, they can sit within their supply chain. They can be your service providers, your agents. But a small business being affected by a cyber incident can trickle up, down, out, and affect any other business that they're working with and have access to their systems. And so, what we want to do here is focus on, educating small businesses on how to manage cyber risk. If you're a larger company that wants to work with us to engage within your stakeholder base, we're happy to work with you on that. And ultimately, we just want to secure the internet and make it a safe place. Ensure that the private sector is increasingly protected and as protected as possible. So that's all for today. We did have one Q&A question come in. So I don't know, John, Maggie, Amber, if you want to come back and please do submit more questions. We have a little time for Q&A. Once again, wanted to thank our partners at Huntington, Amber and Maggie, and also John, our curriculum designer and lead instructor. And Amber, I saw that you answered directly one of the questions that came in during the presentation, but maybe just acknowledging that so that everyone who maybe didn't see it can.
Yep. So I think the question was, hey, are those, IC3 report, are those just the US? And then John and I both kind of answered that. That's correct. So that's, for all US individuals and companies is kind of what that report. So how that works on the FBI side is as you report a crime, that all that data gets aggregated, and depending on the level and where you live in the US and what your the FBI works in different ways depending on what region of the US you're in. The FBI will take up that case. They also might refer it back to your local law enforcement. So why it's so important to report is that the more the more people that do, no matter the dollar amount, no matter how small you might think it is or insequential it is, it will help law enforcement figure out if there's a pattern. And that's what helps those on kind of that bringing that fight to the cyber criminal. It helps the FBI and other law enforcement partners really hone in on, who is this, who is perpetrating this crime, and helping protect Americans. So that is why I will die on the hill of police report. So.
And we got another question along similar topic asking, is there an estimate regarding how many breaches are not reported? Does anyone want to take that one on?
John, you got anything magical?
I've only got what the FBI and Secret Service, and they vary depending on who's giving the presentation that day. But the estimate is at least it's 50% under.
I can tell you
Which
from
is-
working with thousands upon thousands of small businesses every year, this is such a regular topic that oftentimes when they finally bring it to our attention, we will hear them say things like, well, this has happened before, but never at this magnitude.
Yeah.
And when we actually walk them through the reporting process, it's the first time they've ever gone through it. And they will actually share like, yeah, this has happened before and we found this. And I mean, the business email compromise alone is such a regular problem in this particular space.
I'm going to say something that gets repeated a lot in September during National Preparedness Month. See something, say something, please. John, sorry.
Yeah, and I think that the real sad thing with this like, buy me a gift card or send me some money from your bank account for some spurious reason or whatever, they're actually really easy to protect against. It's just that most people haven't heard about it, and the AP teams or people are not trained, and you don't have put in simple procedures. You can stop this attack in your organization for zero money with just a bit of effort and understanding, right? You can stop it even more by, and I guess Huntington, you provide this on the bank accounts of like having somebody authorize every separate transaction, so no one person can instigate a transaction. So you've always got a setter upper and an approver. I know they're probably not the right technical terms, I know, but there's always one person who establishes we're going to make this payment, and there's somebody else who looks at it and goes, whoa, why are we making this payment? We shouldn't be making this payment. And so these are easy things to fix at very little cost to organizations. And part of the Cyber Secure My Business course is actually saying, here's the stuff that you can go away. Like, I expect you to have done this by next week, right? This is not a training course where you sit there and you go, oh, look, the man's finished speaking now. I'm going to go to something more exciting. This is a course where you get a workbook at the end of the week and like at the end of the course. And it's like at the end of each week, you get a worksheet. It's like, I want you to go and do this. And I'm going to ask you to tell me that you've done it, because like you could fix this problem in a week. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort. You could find out the name of the person at the bank you would need to ring up if it happened. You could find out the name of your local Secret Service or FBI if it happened, so you could report it, because they can also help get the money back. There's a scheme that the FBI has about getting money back from these things. So yeah, absolutely, we're into doing practical stuff. And we're not going to be really techie. I am Shiruti. I hope I pronounced your name right. I am going to answer your question that's very technical. Yes. But it still doesn't stop people who just don't look at the header or something like that, which is most humans. So accounts payable people get lots of emails. Yes, all of the things you suggested are great things to do, and they're also quite cheap things to do. So we talk about them on the course of saying, ask your email provider if this is in place, okay? But the most important thing is the AP team don't take things at face value, because they have to be slightly less trusting and helpful, which is always a hard thing to teach people.
And John, I'm going to offer, something that very free. So, we do authentication as a control, right? And you want your AP teams or people supporting you to do that. But if you don't have those things, something kind of a rule of thumb is don't call, if you're getting this message saying, hey, we changed our, routing numbers, or, we changed payment instructions. We need you to send money X here. And they've got a phone number at the bottom of that letter. Please don't call it. Call what's in your system of record. Call. Yeah. So Maggie, John, and I have all kind of reinforced this multiple ways throughout this conversation. Relationships matter. So whether you're using, a vendor management system, or you just have, an internal, spreadsheet, depending on, just getting started out of, here are 3 phone numbers for this known contact, and here is their backup if they're on vacation, or hopefully they won the lottery, all these wonderful things. So that's free. All it takes is time, and that's the friction that people I kind of constantly see fail in the control, is people aren't willing to take that step. The other thing they're not afraid of, because Americans tend to be fairly polite, is they're afraid to be rude. If something feels uncomfortable, doesn't feel right, hang up. Discontinue the conversation. I would rather you be rude for a minute than out hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars.
Totally.
John, there's your that will give you a field day in terms of content for you there.
Yeah. A question, Max, is there a cost for CSMB and how long is the waitlist at the moment?
So we have mapped out the next 10 cohorts from a dates perspective. So if you join the wait list, we'll be sending out regular communications, just keeping you posted on when those are running, if they're full, etc. As I mentioned before, we are hoping to get all of the cohorts sponsored, so there's no fee for attendees. If that doesn't happen, but we still have interest, we can run it at cost for individual, for groups of 30 businesses. So the best way to learn more is just to sign up for the wait list, and then we'll be sending out regular communications there. I also saw that someone had an issue with the waitlist form from the QR code before. There is a logo that takes a couple seconds to load, I've noticed. So if you just stick with it for a couple seconds, it should load. If not, you can go to the link that I put in the chat, which is the program page, and use the link that's on there. We did have another question around additional resources for consumers. If you go to our website, which you can see here, StaySafeOnline.org, we have a lot of resources geared at the general public. Please do go through and read through those. And then getting back to the Q&A, it looks like there's a question here. When a company reports an incident, does their company name get published or recorded? Is it optional? Is it confidential? John, Amber, any thoughts
When
there?
it's 100% confidential when you report to the FBI or Secret Service, and it's also 100% confidential in terms of they won't talk to your regulator if you're a regulated entity. They're very strict about that.
Great. We also have around
what initial action
what
should be
initial
taken?
actions.
Yeah. You should instantly check your financial position, and if any money's left out your bank account, contact your bank straight away. So that would be the first thing.
Amber, do you have any thoughts on initial actions?
No, I think John hit it. I think it's, check those accounts in your life that matter. So in addition to a bank account, I'd also be checking that, any social media accounts that you have on a personal or professional level, email accounts. Just does anything seem odd? When in doubt, lock it down. But again, getting out to your financial partners is key and critical.
Yeah, I'll give you a sneak preview. Like the thing we do in the first week of the course is map out what you have as an organization. Like, do you use a payroll system? Do you use a banking system? If you're doing foreign exchange, do you have a treasury management system? Like, where will people try and attack? So you actually know where they are. So you can actually, and then we answer the question: do you care about this system if somebody has access to it? It's like, well, ish. Oh no, I really care about the treasury system because they could get all of my money. Right. That's like your number one system we need to worry about. And
John, once
you
you
would
do
actually
that, get a business continuity plan and prioritize those systems.
totally.
Pick a kid.
But prioritizing the system is like the most important thing, because if you don't know what's out there, like we talk about, I've run my own small business for many years. Okay. Every time I spent, I'm English, so I spent pounds, not dollars. But every pound I wanted to spend it in the right place, right? I didn't want to spend it on stuff that was not worth spending it on. And cybersecurity is exactly the same. If you've got two things to protect and one's of a lot of value and one's meh, then protect the thing of a lot of value.
Well said.
We have a couple minutes left, so if you have any more questions.
Typically, one-person businesses have very limited systems, and so actually the program's not going to be as valuable. It's designed mainly for slightly larger, like small rather than micro. Is that right, Max?
Yeah, that is right. But with that said, if you are a one-person business or a couple people, if you want to reach out directly, I do have some resources for companies like that, or people or organizations I can direct you to who might have more applicable training programs or resources. So we've made it through the Q&A list. If anybody has any last minute questions, feel free to submit them now. Otherwise, I'm going to just take a minute to once again thank Maggie and Amber, both for their generous support of the program, but also for spending their time with us today and talking through their perspective on small business cyber. And John, thank you again for your time. Um, as we mentioned earlier in the presentation, we'll be sharing this about 24 hours from now. You'll have all the slides from Huntington and from us. If you have any questions for the presenters, I'll include contact information for them as well within the follow-up email. But yeah, thank you again to everyone for joining us. It doesn't look like we have any more Q&A questions coming in, so appreciate all of your time. I don't know, Amber, Maggie, John, if you have anything to close out.
Just thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for caring enough to spend your time with us.
All I'm going to say is I'm looking forward to seeing you on the actual course.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you all again, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Take
Thanks.
care.